Hey folks, welcome back to yet another Transplant Helper Rewind edition. I'm going to be sharing with you a video I did about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, where I decided to explain to you personally why I do not eat buffets. As a matter of fact, I would say the majority of transplant centers would ask of you that you avoid buffets at all costs, if at all possible at least. Now, while we're doing that, I'm going to be having a little bit of fun and sharing with you 5 ways you can know for sure that you're actually eating a bad buffet. Check it out. Hey folks, welcome to Transplant Helper again today. My name is Jim Merle. Here we are, our very first program of 2019. It happens to be January the 2nd, 2019. So welcome back to a brand new year. I'm looking forward to many great things coming through this program in the coming days. Now, with that said, today we're going to be talking about a subject that you might find a little bit humorous at times, maybe a little bit scary at other times, but we're going to talk about the 5 signs that you may be eating at a bad buffet. Now, before we go any farther, let me show you exactly what it was I said about buffets about a year ago. Let me discourage you, and I said discourage you, from eating salad bars and buffets. Those things can be absolutely, I'll just call it nasty at times. Well, as you can see right there, I didn't think then that eating at a buffet was a really good idea. As a matter of fact, I think it's something that most of our transplant centers are more than likely going to warn against. But anyway, let's suppose you're in a situation where the families got together, maybe for a holiday, like some of the ones we just came through, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, or maybe you're just in a situation where, you really, really want something to eat, but you can't make up your mind what you want, and the buffet down the street seems to be the right place to go. Well, let me encourage you, as always, to please use your caution if you're going to go into those places. They're probably not the best as far as their sanitary practices, as far as, what they put in the foods, too much salt, too much sugar, too many additives, preservatives, that sort of thing. You're better off cooking at home. But sometimes we get desperate, or we just get to a point where we really don't care and we go for the restaurant anyway. And if it happens that we really make that choice, stepping off the deep end to go into a buffet, let me give you these 5 signs that you're in a bad buffet. So here we go. Number 1, above everything, no sneeze guards. If you're in a buffet where they don't have that plastic hood, kind of hanging down over the food there to protect from someone sneezing, coughing, breathing for that matter, you're probably in the wrong place. As a matter of fact, it is actually mandated state per state and nationally as a whole that those sneeze guards are required to be installed on buffet lines. In addition to that, something you might want to check when you're there, it just not with a ruler or anything, but just with your eye, those sneeze guards have to be no more than 13 inches above the food, okay? So the bottom of that little plastic glassy looking thing cannot be any higher than 13 inches above the food. Again, if it is, it's really ineffective and people can kind of lean into that or under that, and it could really cause a problem. So if you don't see the sneeze guards, hit the door and hit the door fast. Number 2, look out for those tainted tongs, okay? Most of those food bars, whether it be a salad bar or an actual buffet itself, they're going to come with tongs, utensils, all sorts of things that are laying there to help you get your food. Obviously, that's needed. That has to be there. But did you really realize there are absolutely no standards as far as to how often those utensils have to be changed out? As far as, the plates, the silverware, that stuff's constantly being turned over in the kitchen. You hope it's being washed properly and all. You don't really know, but at least the stuff you're eating off of and eating with has been washed recently. But it very well may be the case that the tongs, the spoons, the dippers, the ladles, they haven't been through the same process. Again, because it's not required or there's no standard as to how often those need to be changed out. Now, if they hit the floor, yeah, they're supposed to get them in there and get a new set out. But, how often is that even happening? And how often even more is it being noticed by a responsible employee? So just be careful. Watch out for tainted tongs. Number 3, watch out for missing employees, okay? If you go into a buffet type restaurant, I understand the intention of a buffet, especially for the restaurant owner or whoever, is in charge there, whoever's managing that, is that they can put out a lot of food really fast, serve a ton of customers, and do it with very few employees. I get that. But if you go into a buffet situation, it seems like the same guy who's cooking is the guy who's running the food in and out, who's doing all the, the changes, maybe even serving a table, look out for that, okay? We don't need employees who are overstressed, under too much pressure, and really who are going in and out of the kitchen too many times, because obviously if someone who's cooking back there, who's supposed to be following a very specific practice as far as hand washing, sanitizing himself, keeping maybe the hair nets or whatever over facial hair, all that you see sometimes. If they're running out there, maybe changing the utensils, which you would hope they might sometimes, or bringing out the food, or maybe having to answer questions for customers, they're probably not going to be able to keep up that practice like they should. So watch out for missing employees. Number 4, I almost said 3, didn't I? Number 4, watch out for part-time buffets. Now, again, this is subjective. It may not really be the case, but a lot of restaurants have, like, say, a weekend buffet or a Sunday buffet, or maybe a lunch buffet, but not at night. Watch out for that. They could be totally fine, as best they could be. They could be up to standards and up to par, but you might be suspect, at least, that some of those part-time buffets are only there because they're trying to get rid of the leftover food. And leftovers at home, I get it. We all have them. Some of us enjoy them. But, leftovers in a restaurant, especially food that may have been sitting out, say, through the lunch hour, and now all of a sudden they have a supper buffet, dinner buffet, not a very good idea. And on top of that, it may not necessarily be food that was left over per se, but it may be that they've got food maybe back in the freezer or, the colder areas that are about to spoil, go bad. And so suddenly they have a great catfish buffet on Sundays. And what they're really trying to do is get rid of all that stuff before, it goes out of date. So just kind of watch out for the part-time buffet. Probably a good idea. And then the last one here you really need to be aware of, number 5, watch out for restaurants that are not making the grade. Now, depending on what state you're in, there are going to be tons of different requirements as far as food grading restaurants, whether that has to be posted or not. I know here in Alabama where I live, it's required that it's posted in front of the customer, maybe by the register on the door as you go in. So you can kind of make that choice as to whether or not you want to go into that restaurant that maybe didn't quite make the grade. But in some states, that's actually not the case. In some states, they're not required to post that publicly. Hence, it would be something you would either have to ask and hope that you get a correct answer, or maybe go online and check to really find out if they've made the grade. Now, what's even more scary than that, really just makes me shudder with grossness, is the fact that when those restaurants are checked, they're only checked, as you can assume, and I understand this, but they're only checked on a periodical basis. As a matter of fact, I've got a good friend that used to work for the FDA / health department locally, and one of her jobs was to go out and to grade restaurants and to be sure they were sanitary and clean and following all good food practices. And what she told me is that, just for an example, she said we're only able to make it in most restaurants in the area no more than once a year. So she said we go in, we see violations, we maybe knock them down a food grade or something like that, maybe give them a 90 instead of 100, what have you. And she said they may or may not make those corrections. We don't know for a full year if those corrections are made. And so that can be very scary, because here you are, you're in a restaurant, maybe they've got a 99 or 100 grade, and you think, oh, this is good, it's perfect. And you go in, but what's really happening there is they may have already scored a 80 subjectively, but maybe they hadn't actually gotten the score yet because the employees, whoever's doing that watching for you, have not been in. It's just not their time yet. And so be careful about that. In addition to that, she added that a lot of times there are violations that they find in the restaurants that are occurring right in the moment. And if they're willing to correct that immediately, say they had, dirty dishwater or oil in a fryer too long or whatever, or not up to temperature, she said they can correct that while they're still there, and it never gets marked up on the document. So hence, there's a violation that you don't necessarily see, and it very well may go right back to the way it was the day after they leave. So anyway, overall, it's probably not the best idea for you and I, especially as immunosuppressed, transplant patients, whatever, to be eating in restaurants and buffets, especially like this. But if you're going to do that, these are just 5 things you can watch for to let you know you're in a bad buffet. If this has helped you out in any way, please go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. Maybe consider sharing it with some of your family and friends, because even if they're not in a position like we are, you would hope that they would be safe when they're making choices like this and be informed. And this is just some of the facts I wanted to share. Now, with that said, I want you to comment below. Would you eat in a buffet? That's a good question to ask. If so, what are some of the things that would cause you to duck and run? Or what are some of the things maybe on the other side that would cause you to say, hey, this is a good place. This is mom and pop's place. It's a good place to eat, and I'm eating there anyway. Just comment below, tell me all about that. And by the way, I oftentimes say comment below, and some of you don't even know where that is. If you're on a smartphone or some kind of device, you've got to scroll past the suggested videos to get to the comment section. But it's down there, I promise. Just give me some feedback. Again, happy 2019 to each of you. Thank you for supporting the program, and until next time, stay stronger, friends.